So there's two ways. One is helping their internal efficiency and effectiveness, telephone calls coming in, routing them to the appropriate person who is working from home. And I assume the second way in which they're using it better is to demonstrate to their customers that they're creating value. This is how many telephone calls we're generating. What we know is that telephone calls are more important than emails because someone is a hot buyer. And in these times where the number of leads being generated is less because people can't physically go and look at cars or can't physically go and look at houses, that these leads are more important. So I assume they're using your technology as a way to demonstrate to their customers the value that they're creating.
Sure. In general, this is, as we identified already before, transparency is king. And also, of course, here in this situation, even more, the more transparency you have, the better it is. Absolutely.
If we look to the future and roll the videotape forward, let's say 5 years, how are portals and marketplaces using your technologies?
And when we talk about telecommunication, I always say I would like to make teleportation, but we are not yet technically ready. But why the hell don't we use the good old video channel? Before I talk about technology, one step back. What is a use case I see personally? I was confronted, and friends of mine and other people, not everybody knows about people who are looking for a used car. So I go to any kind of website, call it Scout, Mobile, also Trader, blah, blah, blah. And then again, I have my nice list. Then I find 5 cars, which might be interesting for me. But unfortunately, none of these cars is located in the city where I live. I need to drive 100 kilometers, 200 miles, whatever, in order to see this car properly. So the only possibility I have today is I check the pictures I have on the portal site. Maybe I write an email. Maybe I have a phone call. And I hope from the perspective of the seller that the trust level is so high that the potential buyer takes his existing car to drive 100 kilometers to check the potential new car. But every time he needs to drive 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers, blah, blah, blah. How can now video, for example, support virtual reality, virtual sales, reducing friction, making the things faster, as I was talking before? I mean, we have the basic technology already today in place because we have the link between the cookie and the voice channel. So just one click on the car dealer's app he could get from us. And he could take his camera, his mobile phone. I'm the seller now. And I have the potential buyer on the line and say, oh, you're interested in the car. It's a super car. Let me go with you. You stay where you are, 200 kilometers away. I take my mobile phone. I go around the car now for you. And you tell me if you would like to see the trunk, if you would like to see the motor. Just tell me the spots you would like to see with my 4K camera. And after this 10 minutes call, where I did a good job being a salesman or lady, what was my achievement? I raised trust level in order that this potential buyer will make the 100 kilometers to come and truly see my car. And this is an outlook. When I do not talk about 5 years into the future, this is something we can offer certainly until end of this year already. Now maybe one spotlight into 5 years. What about virtual reality? What about 3D? Not yet really a proof of concept on my in my desk, but this is something we are working on to ask ourselves, how could we offer technology in the future to remove this friction, remove the distances we have today, and at the end of the day, what is most important for me, to give the power to the portal, because once the portal, the marketplace has this transaction capability, these features inside of the backbone of the core, they have the power. They have the power, like Uber has the power to have all the taxi drivers and all people who need a taxi driver. They have the power, and they have the app to link all these people. And the less friction, the better it is. Shows Uber, and marketplaces still have a lot of friction between potential sellers. Well, here are my sellers on this side, and the buyers here.
Okay. One last question. The way you were talking about it is you see there's a merger or a coming together of call tracking technologies, 3D tours, video tours, everything's sort of merging, because at the end of the day, there's voice on videos. You can add video to calls, because, you know, if I'm using my phone and I can turn on the video instantaneously, I'm using a WhatsApp or a WeChat or whatever. So do you see there's like a merging of all these technologies? And I love what you said about that, which is all around, how do I reduce the friction? How do I make it much easier for a buyer and a seller to get to an agreement?
Absolutely. I mean, you said everything that we are talking about, that we are talking today about call tracking is a nice buzzword, but it's not something which is exciting for the next 5 years plus. There are millions of things to do.
Frank and Alexander, thank you very much for taking this time to have a chat about matelso and what you're doing. First of all, it's fascinating to understand how you work with customers today. But what I think is very important is how you're thinking about the future and the opportunities that are being created in this post-COVID-19 world.